Hello viewers, welcome. Today we are going to discuss the Elizabethan age. The Elizabethan age is rightly called the golden age in history of England. England made astonishing progress in this field in all fields of national life in this age with the accession of Queen Elizabeth I on the throne of England in 1558. The whole country was prospering and flowering, and it was a golden age. Before the accession of Queen Elizabeth, the whole country was shaken, and it was shaken with numerous internal upheavals and turmoils. There was war of roses was there, internal war was there, but in this age it was a age of peace and prosperity. The Queen Elizabeth suppressed all internal rebels and the restored public safety, confidence, and freedom from care. People felt free to devote themselves to pursuit of art and literature. The external power invading the country were also crushed down, and England became a great power, especially as a navy power. England took a sigh of relief, and Englishmen sat down to develop their own trade and industry. The people got their long converted leisure to sit and study and meditate over the deeper truth of human life and the universe. Men of science devoted themselves to explore further the mysteries of nature, and artists and authors displayed their great genius in different forms. The Renaissance was in its full swing in all spheres of life. Renaissance not only in the literature, but it was also in religion, society, politics, commerce, and science alike. So it was a great age, and the age of Queen Elizabeth, comprising the latter half of the 16th century, has been golden age in history of English people. It was an age in which the mind of people was set free from the trammels of medievalism. They were free from trammels of medievalism, from fear of religious persecution, from fear of poverty and starvation, and from the fear of foreign invasion. It was an era of social, political, and religious peace. Men were now free to devote themselves to art and literature. It was also an era of great adventure and travel and discovery, which fired the imagination of English people and inspired them to for creative activity. It is therefore a golden age of literature, an age in which the Renaissance, temporarily arrested by the religious quarrels of the previous age, could come to full flowering and it come to its apex. So, under the above noted conditions, England came to be widely known as great country, flourishing in peace and prosperity. It was an age when trade and commerce of the country were revolutionized. With the dissolution of monasteries, there were huge increase in national wealth. The manufacture of glassware, pillows, cushions, and carpet were newly introduced in the country. People were overjoyed to have such unprecedented and undreamed of comfort and luxury. England exported her industrial products to foreign lands and foreign countries, and it became a center of foreign trade. In field of religion too, the long consuming controversies between Roman Catholic and Anglicanism was also settled, and peace was established. Reformation in religion had been accomplished, and therefore the perfect peace and calm prevailed in country. The authorized version of the Bible was published, which was accepted by all churches. The young Queen Elizabeth had inherited not only the vanity and the love of splendor of her forefathers, but also the political wisdom and sagacity and caution of her grandfather. Elizabeth followed a wise policy of moderation and compromise. She adopted policy of balance. Men's mind were still obsessed with the fear of religious persecution of the previous reign, like reign of Queen Mary, another reign. But both Protestant and Catholics were fearing for having bad memories of persecution, religious persecution they had undergone in previous centuries and previous ages. The nation was still divided within, and but the shrewd queen, that cunning Queen Elizabeth, did not permit herself to be controlled or to be dominated either by the Catholics or Protestant. She kept the extremists of both the sect and the religion under check and under control. She was herself a Protestant, but she was a skeptic. She adopted a policy of religious tolerance. She followed policy of golden mean, and complete religious freedom was granted to the people. Many attempts were made at reconciliation with the Pope also, because there was a fight between Pope and his father in earlier age, Henry VIII. But Queen Elizabeth tried to make reconciliation and make compromise with Pope, and she refused to be drawn into any quarrel with Spain. She was not ready to for that quarrel, because she was very um, sane and very shrewd queen, and she adopted moderation in everything. But at the same time, Elizabeth favored public worship of the Anglo-Catholic type church, and the English Bible was adopted in England. She employed in government services both Catholics and Protestant, provided they were loyal to her. And extreme in both Catholics and Puritans were kept under check, kept under control by her. And it was a result of her wise policy that there was a peace all over England. And she saved the England from the religious war, which was burning France and Germany at that time. And she made her country prosperous. She established Anglican Church in England. Anglicanism is a kind of a compromise between Catholicism and Protestantism. It was also be called Anglo-Catholicism. This church was now accepted by both Protestant and Catholic sect. So such was a glorious age. And then there was a social and political peace also. Elizabeth adopted the policy of moderation, and this resulted in the social and political peace in England. And there was a compromise between Scotland and northern barons were kept under check. And so she was employing, and she was having balance in all fields of life. And as they enjoyed great prestige, the queen strengthened their hands so that peace could prevail in England. Even poor and unemployed were taken care of. Poor laws were passed, according to which doles were granted to such as they were unable to provide for themselves. So Elizabeth provided the people who were not able to provide for themselves. It was a golden age, and Queen was very popular at that time. It was as though her wise policies, both home and abroad, both in England and abroad, that Queen Elizabeth was favorite of all people, and she fully deserved the adoration and admiration which she get from people. She was true child of Renaissance. She was a fine young woman. She was cultured, refined. She was well versed in humanistic learning. She was very well read person, and she had a very dignified and very respectable presence. She was good orator, good scholar, and one could easily move who could easily move people and win their hearts. So the court in which the glamorous queen presided was the most brilliant and most glorious court of Europe. And such was the splendor of the court that people were dazzled by the splendor of the court of Queen Elizabeth. Worship of Elizabeth became the fashion of the day. She was a royal virgin. She never married, and she became very popular in her life. Elizabeth and her court became the focus of the English imagination as well as the center of political life. Poets paid all sorts of extravagant compliments to her. She was Spenser Gloriana, she was Relic Cynthia, and she was Shakespeare Fair Vessel throned by the West. So people worshipped her, people respected her, and saw in her the true spirit of their age and their nation. So it was a glorious age, and the next age of adventure and energy. It was also an age of overflowing energy and high spirit. Men sought to break away from the fetters of human body and social and political bondages, and to face the sun and touch the moon and to talk to stars. The keynote of the age was adventure. The voyages and the navigators discovered new countries and islands and established their colonies there. Shakespeare described the spirit of man of the age in Hamlet in these lines. Hamlet says that what a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculties, in form, for how moving, how express and admirable in action, how like an angel in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. Then, age of national victories. It was also an age of great and glorious national victories, and England defeated France and subdued Spain in historic Battle of Armada. Number of internal dukes and barons who had been revolting from time to time against British sovereignty and British kingdom had and claimed their independence were now crushed and now in perfect control. England enjoyed internal peace and order on one hand, and on the other hand, respect and influence abroad. So, England was having a full respect in country also and in abroad also. Tidal wave of nationalism flowed over the country. There was an upsurge of nationalism. This accounts for so many historical plays written by Shakespeare, songs of glory, songs of glory, and were sung in praise of England. Shakespeare speaks through the lips of Gaunt in praise of England thus. So Shakespeare speak with the lips of Gaunt that this royal throne of king, this sceptred isle, this earth of majesty, this seat of Mars, this other Eden, demi paradise, this happy breed of men, this little world, this precious stone set in the silver sea, this blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England. So this was a great age, and there was an upsurge of patriotism such as it has never seen before, and um, everything, even religion, combined to stimulate and reinforce patriotism. Protestantism was regarded a deliverance from foreign yoke. English considered themselves to be the chosen people, and they were very happy with their country. And England decided to be number one in every field. With the confidence in her own genius and capability and sure of her destiny, so England moved forward and with one aim to crush their rivals. So, Elizabethan love of letters had its beginning in the patriotic pride. The narrow geographical boundaries were melting away, and new islands and continents were discovered in quick succession. The vast continent of America, together with their rich gold mines, was discovered, and there were added to the dominion of England. Sailors and navigators returned from their long, hazardous voyages and brought with them factual or fictitious tales of their meetings with the fairies or demons and filed the English atmosphere with the unprecedented thrill and romance. The Tempest, The Midsummer Night Dream by Shakespeare, The Arcadia of Sydney, and several other such works derived their inspiration from their stories of adventure. Along with all these new discoveries and inventions, there also emerged a new and fresh study of the astronomy. Human spirit yearned to soar higher above the mundane plane of Earth. So there was a great upsurge in the discoveries in the field of studies of astronomy also, and so scholars were striving in that field also. They were eager to know stars and planets and all those things. With all this favorable With all these favorable conditions for the growth of art and literature, there came a vogue of classical studies and scholarship. People were running behind classical studies, they were fond of Greek and Latin literature. The curiosity, excitement, and wonder and the wonder came as a vogue, as a fashion of classical studies and scholarship. People were reading those classical books, and they were running after scholarship. The curiosity, excitement, wonder, and imagination having been roused by above factors, a literary shape was given to them by supreme and perfect example of great Greek and Roman classical masters like Homer and Virgil. In no time, England was turned into the vernal grove of sweet singing birds. So England became the grove of sweet singing birds, and so many people were writing lyrics and musical poems. Then it was a age of literary advancement, um, art and literature. Art and literature prospered in this age to great extent, and um, an atmosphere of peace and order. Art and literature can grow only in the atmosphere of peace and order and prosperity, and not in the time where there is a war is going on. So, for this, prosperity and peace is very important for the pursuit of art. And the Elizabethan age provided this favorable atmosphere, this positive atmosphere to a remarkable degree, to great degree. As a result, the Elizabethan age excelled in producing all forms of literature of the highest quality. People were writing great literature, great books. It was age in which men lived intensely, thought intensely, and wrote intensely by virtue of its wonderful fertility and the variety and splendor of production. This period is, as a whole, rank as one of the greatest in the annals of the world literature, says W.H. Hudson. The greatest glory of this age was Shakespeare, who remains who remains a great figure, and to this day the genius that perhaps a human nature that has ever produced. Our myriad minded Shakespeare, says Dryden, and Dryden praised him in this verse. He was the man who, of all modern and perhaps Dryden praises Shakespeare like that. He was greatest man, and he praised him like that. He was the man who of all the modern and perhaps ancient poets had the largest and the most comprehensive soul. The greatest non-dramatic poet of this age was Edmund Spenser, the author of Fairy Queen and Shepherd's Calendar. Spencer was rightly hailed the poet's poet. He was called poet's poet by Charles Lamb, a great prose writer of Romantic age. And as a allegorical epic, the Fairy Queen remains unbeaten and unsurpassed in the history of English poetry. Turning to prose literature, we come to Sydney's Arcadia, a romance of unparalleled imaginative flight. Bacon is rightly celebrated as a father of English essays in this age. The same level of excellence we find in the field of lyrics, sonnets, ballads, pastorals. Thus, the Elizabethan age remained unsurpassed in all respects of history of England. It was a perfect age. It was a golden age, which was, but. Despite all these things, we can say that in short, it was a glorious age in which men of genius like Shakespeare, Spencer, Marlowe, and Bacon could make their mark and make their distinction. Thank you so much for listening to me. Uh, Please like and subscribe my channel. Thank you so much.